Rosario Mantegna is our next speaker. Rosario is full professor at Palermo University. His research is known in a wide range of interdisciplinary applications of statistical physics. Rosario was one of the first to coin the term econophysics and is most known for the maximum spanning tree and statistics on network. Please welcome Rosario Mantegna.
Okay. Thank you very much. This will be a strange talk, I'm afraid, but this was the challenge. And then the idea is to think a bit more on, let's say, the cultural background that we have behind doing complexity. And I will start by using what is often used, a page from Wikipedia. This is the page from Wikipedia a few days ago about complexity. And you can see that there is no absolute definition of complexity. The only consensus among researchers is that there is no agreement about the specific definition of complexity, which is typical. So I mean, you find this type of things over the network, and certainly, I think we should admit that complexity is a vague concept. So, and then this is sometimes making us not so, let's say, proud of doing a complexity, but there are exceptions. Sometimes people do not think in this direction. And I'm citing one philosopher of science, Yehuda Elkanah. I don't know if you know him. He was very influential, and he was also a rector and provost of Central European University, the place where I spent a few years, some years ago. But I'm citing him for his work, I mean, over the time. And the first work that he did as a philosopher of science, he was a very interesting person. Originally, he was a physicist. He studied physics, and then he studied philosophy of science, and then sociology of science, and then anthropology of culture, and then education. So it's a kind of hybrid guy, like many of us are. And his first work was about the discovery of the conservation of energy. And if you read this book, you will discover something which is very interesting, at least it was very interesting to me, is the fact that many of the vague concepts are the most interesting concepts. So this is the key point. So when you see historically, I mean, the conquer of some great idea, like the idea of the conservation of energy, when you go into the detail, you will see the confusion that had in mind Leibniz or Newton or Helmholtz on that. So this is something that we should keep in mind. When you have a very clean concept, as some people are asking, I mean, what is the definition of complexity? I mean, this means that a lot of work was already done. Now it is clear and well structured, and the cultural construction is let's say, in the final shape. But if you are contributing to something which is really, let's say, timely, it's really challenging, then the concept will be a vague concept. And this is what you see. Here there is another quotation. Indeed, this is the opening quotation of the book. And the opening quotation of the book is from Hans Kramers, a collaborator of Niels Bohr. And the statement is, in the world of human thought, and in physical science particularly, the most fruitful concepts are those to which it is impossible to attach a well-defined meaning. So I think we should not be afraid of the fact that complexity is a vague concept. So with this in mind, let's go on from the history of Yehuda Elkanah. So he was, a few years later than that study, he was proposing a programmatic attempt at an anthropology of knowledge. So what is the meaning of that? So the idea is that we should reflect on the way we produce knowledge. And certainly science is producing knowledge. Certainly the science of complexity is producing knowledge. So it is very important to have a guide on that. And we have a guide in our background. And I think in our background it is very strong, the presence of the neo-positivism of the Circle of Vienna, in which, I mean, you have an idea concerning what is science, what is the falsificability of a scientific theory, and so on and so forth. But this was a philosophical development which was close and in parallel with the with the development of quantum theory, of quantum mechanics, and with physics in mind. Is this something that it is valid for complexity of science? Indeed, my provocative talk is in this direction. Should we think a bit more on that, or the idea of the crucial experiment is still something that is completely valid in our approach? I think that we should care a bit more on some study of sociology of science or anthropology of culture that has been present since the 80s and which has contributed a lot in proposing different view. So what is the view, the different view? So I realized that this slide is too complex for a 7-minute talk. So then probably I will skip, but the idea is that you have typically widely accepted presupposition in the philosophy of science, but you can have a counter-thesis. Let's imagine that we have a counter-thesis. And I think the counter-thesis of Elkanah are very, very interesting, but I will focus only on the last one. And the last one is that, if we think deeply on the root of what we are doing as a scientist, what are the cultural roots of that? He proposed that one of these roots, and not only him, concern the theater, the theater that was invented by the Greeks. And this is also a view which was stated by Alfred Whitehead, mathematician and philosopher. And in his book of Science and the Modern World, he said that the Pilgrim Fathers of scientific imagination, as it exists today, are the great tragedians of ancient Athens, Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides. So the cultural structuring of something that must happen in a precise way are there from a cultural point of view. This was, there have been a huge history, the magicians, the development of the mathematization of the reality, and so on and so forth. But let's say the basic cultural production of the basic idea came from that time, and then we need to think a bit more about the basic of the theater, just to understand more how we deal with complex systems like a city or the brain or anything else or network or protein that we are considering. Yehuda Elkanah is pointing out that there are two types of theaters. One type is the dramatic theater. This is related to what he called the epistemic reason, a kind of reason in which you have a richness in terms of logic and deduction. And the deity of that is Athena. And in this type of theater, you know what will happen. Essentially, you know what will happen. What is crucial is the moment in which everything evolves in the way such that what you expect that will happen will happen. And then there is another theater. This was pointed out by Walter Benjamin. There is what was called the epic theater, in which you don't know what will happen. You only know that there are a lot of moments of confrontation among the participants that are there, and this is related to what Elkanah called a metic reason, something related to the Titan Metis, which is the mother of Zeus, in which this is a kind of cunning reason. So you try to convince the other, like in the direction of people like, let's say, the city manager, which is saying, if we are making cars in a so precise way, and in the way, why do we need public transportation? So this is a form of cunning reason, and you have example for that. So what is the challenge for us in terms of complexity scholars? So I think we should be we should invest in the search of making a distinction for all those cases where you can use or you need a cunning reason for the other set of problems in which you could say, I mean, this is just similar to a drama, to a dramatic play in which I know how it will finish because I can deal with that. So, thank you very much.